Joining us now, State Senator Fairfax Chap Peterson. Fairfax also a member of the 30-Day Fund. You can go to va30dayfund.com. This is a fund started by Pete Snyder that Chap Peterson and his lovely wife Sharon have contributed to. They put in $10,000. We want to thank him for that. And it's forgivable loans for Virginia small businesses. I've talked to many business owners who have applied for it. They have a review process. You have to do a video. Go to va30dayfund.com. But what a great thing, Chap, that you guys have done.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you for the kind words. And, I tip my hat to Pete Snyder. I had a mutual friend who put us together over the weekend, and he talked to me about it, and he just wanted me to endorse it or be on the board. I said, well, are you asking me to invest? And my wife and I set up a very small foundation a few years ago after I had won a significant case and had a couple extra nickels. And so it's a 501c3, so it's a tax-deductible donation. So we donated, and it's basically what we call a revolving fund. So it makes loans to people to particularly help them meet short-term costs while they're waiting on the federal stimulus. And then once they get cashed up and they're back on their feet, then basically they pay it forward and pay the money back to the fund, and then we're in a position to help somebody else. So that's the idea.
I really think it's a great idea, Chap, and I applaud you and Sharon for getting involved in it because, as a small business owner yourself, I've been in your shop many, many times. As you know, I do my show in there so many times, and, you have employees and, you run a business and your wife Sharon's upstairs doing the finances, and you've got employees, lawyers. I mean, it isn't easy.
No, and it's tough. My representation is basically small businesses. I represent a lot of the local restaurants and auto dealerships and construction contractors, subcontractors, you name it. I mean, that's my bailiwick, and those industries are just getting crushed right now. So I'm fortunate in that I've got work to keep people busy. Obviously, as you know, we do a lot of condemnation work, and the state construction schedule is still on track, so we're busy doing that. But it's a scary time, and again, I want to be helpful to people. I'm trying to keep all my own associates busy, and God willing, we'll be out of this in a few weeks. But in the meantime, I'm anything I can do to be helpful, whether as a politician or as a businessman, I'm going to try and do it.
We're with Senator Chap Peterson. Hey, Senator, let me ask you something. When you talk to your small business friends and owners in the Fairfax area, especially the restaurateurs, what are they saying? Tell me what they're saying.
Well, there's kind of two classes of restaurants, and there are those that can convert to the takeout, and they're surviving, and in some cases they're thriving because they've got a monopoly. And then I've got a lot of restaurants. I've got one client that invested millions in a very high class Korean barbecue restaurant that basically it's unsustainable. And it became unsustainable overnight, just as it was really picking up steam and bringing in a lot of revenue. And I hope that there's a way that we can, when we come out on the other end of this thing, that we'll be able to turn back the clock to how it was, say, early March, and clients that were expecting revenues of, say, anywhere between $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a month can go back to acquiring that. But I don't know, John. I really don't, and I hope we're going to have to find a way. My job as an attorney is to help people restructure loans, help them figure out an alternative model. But it's been really tough. In the restaurant industry has been devastated, hotel industry devastated, and a lot of contractors, construction, particularly if it's private construction, are in bad shape right now.
Yeah, it's a scary time. We have to get this economy open, Chap, and get people back to work because, every day that goes by, you're losing more revenue. And, a lot of people that don't have a small business don't understand it. A lot of the people in public policy, and they graduated from college and went to work for some government agency. I mean, they don't understand, like you mentioned, your high-end Korean barbecue restaurateur, they need, $300,000, $400,000 a month in order to survive. what it takes to get there: advertising, promotion, marketing,
Right.
social media, word of mouth, customers. Got to get the customers to come back. You got to get the table setting right. How many tables you have to turn. You got to get all that. It takes a long time. You finally get there, and then if you're down for 2 months and then you go back in, you're not going to get $400,000 in the first month. You're just not going to get it.
You've got your staff, and let's say you hire staff, some part-time, some full-time. You train them. You go through you typically 30 days of soft opening, and then if once you lay off people and you can't keep them on payroll if you're not open, then they're going to go and find other things to do. They're going to move. They go back to school, and you basically got to go through that same process to get restarted. So it's just been brutal for the restaurant clients. Again, auto dealers. I know it's been brutal. I'm sure you could talk to Don Hall directly on that.
Oh yeah.
I've got multiple clients that do auto maintenance. That's been rough. It's just been rough, man. And like I said, it's just for me. Fortunately, I've always, as a businessman, been pretty conservative in terms of I never let my payroll get too far ahead from what I think is possible. And so I'm one of those businessmen that you try and keep your costs low, and then at the end of the year you bonus out everyone, and you have a great Christmas. But it's like I said, let's hope 30 days from now we can look back and say, okay, we got through that and onward and upward.
Exactly, Chap. That's the right attitude to have. I think we've got a couple more 3 weeks in us to get to the end of April, and maybe the first week in May we have to get this thing opened up. But again, I want to, before we get to politics here, I really want to thank you for your investment in Pete Snyder's VA 30-day fund. It's called Virginia 30-day fund. Go to va30dayfund.com. You can apply there for a small business forgivable loan up to $3,000. You have to have a minimum of 3 W-2 employees. Go to va30dayfund.com and check that out. And I want to thank Chap Peterson, his wife Sharon, for investing in that. Pete Snyder also it was his idea and for putting it together, and Pete done a wonderful job on it, and he had to, I think he staked it with about $100,000 of his own money. Very generous on Pete. Now he's got, because of that, other donations coming in.
Well, and I've talked to Pete even yesterday, and I'm trying to push some. I'm going to try and push some names or talk to people. I told him he should call Terry McAuliffe. And
I think that's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. I think Terry would jump on something like this. He's the right guy. And this is a chance to, you and I, we know people. You know people. Now's the time to kind of get people invested in something like this.
I love the McAuliffe idea, and I agree with you 100%. I think if Pete called Terry McAuliffe up, I do know that they've talked with each other, have a relationship with it. I would bet you $1,000 right now that if he called Terry McAuliffe up and ran this idea by him, that Terry'd be in for $25,000.
No doubt. No doubt about that.
No, I think that's a wonderful idea. I'm going to mention it to him also. All right, we're with Chap Peterson. He is a Democrat state senator from Fairfax. So, Chap Peterson, let's get to Virginia government right now. The governor yesterday calling for a freeze on all new spending because he says, look, I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know what our revenues are going to be. How do we manage it?
Yeah. Well, that's something that we've been talking about for weeks. I mean, literally, and when we went back into session, I guess it was March 11th or 12th. I mean, we were just on the front edge of what was going to happen, and at that time we voted the budget, and some people were saying, well, let's delay the vote. I was of the opinion that we might as well just vote the budget, and then we'll have to send it to the governor and have him amend it, which is exactly what's going to happen. The short answer is, any new spending is going to come off the books. We know that. The pay increases we had anticipated for state employees, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. A lot of new spending that we had anticipated, water quality, state parks, a lot of very deserving items because we thought we were in a surplus positive economy. It's not going to happen. And so, we're looking at a pretty significant belt tightening. We need to get briefed on exactly how the federal stimulus meshes with our budget. I know there's been some concerns that you can use it on programs going forward, but you can't use it to backfill missing revenues.
Right.
I'm concerned, John, about your area, that in Virginia Beach, Williamsburg, that we're not getting tourism money. We're not going to get the hotel and tourism money. And I know Virginia Beach is very dependent on that for their school system. So, the bottom line is that even if we come out of the COVID thing, let's say in the next month or the next 6 weeks, and we get back to semi-normal, sorting through the economic destruction is going to take years. Months, years.
Yeah, years.
Yeah.
Well, look, you take my area, Williamsburg and Virginia Beach, and the amount of revenue that comes in over the summer is in the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
And right now, if we can't get the governor's already shut us down through the 10th of June. Now, he can back off that, and I'm hoping he does, because if we can open the beaches up and get things back to normal in May, but it can't be May 31st. I mean, it has to be early May so people can plan, right? You just don't go to Virginia Beach or any beach. You have to plan it. So hopefully it can be for May, but it's like hundreds of millions of dollars.
I think at some point, and this is a conversation I think we're going to start having, is there needs to be a conversation about public health versus public economy, and everything has been from the public health perspective. And let me just say right off the bat, the governor's team, in my opinion, has been great. And I've said this. I said it on Facebook last night that the daily briefings they've had, the Virginia Department of Health website, the way they've stayed updated. If you're a taxpayer in this state, all the information you need is really at your fingertips, and that's amazing, and that's due to a lot of effort by good people. But I do think, as we're sort of, the wave is starting to at least level off, we need to start having a conversation about, okay, either we're going to have a plan to go back to normal, or if we're not going back to normal, how do we refunction an economy? I mean, how do we basically take this economy and get it back so that people are working? Because if people aren't working, they can be, healthy, but if they're not working, then you got a lot of problems. And so we need a strategy on that. And I've sort of talked with my own colleagues in the state Senate about, we need to be doing a fiscal impact analysis about how much we're losing every day that we're shut down, and what the different levels of social distancing are. So let's say we decide to come back online. We open schools back up. We open up certain businesses. We decide that certain vulnerable populations, are either going to self-quarantine or however, we're going to do that. I can tell you that in the Republic of Korea, where I was actually supposed to be this week, my wife's family's from Korea, and we were going to go back and visit. Well, they're starting to come back online. Their schools are opening, I think, next week. So we need to learn how other cultures or other countries are coming out on the other end and trying to get their economies back to normal, because we haven't done any planning for that yet, and that needs to start now.
Chap Peterson, Senator Chap Peterson, you are so right, from Fairfax, because there has to be a balance between results and the factoids we're getting from the public health professionals and their recommendations and the economic impact of that, because it's not just dollars and cents, it's lives, okay?
Yeah.
It's lives in Virginia Beach, lives in Williamsburg, lives of workers, and I've been saying this for 2 weeks. We have to, that's got to be measured. Jobs being lost, incomes going down, savings being depleted. That's going to lead to drug overdose, alcoholism, stress, stroke, heart attack.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes on and on and on. I mean, you have all these business owners in Virginia Beach that they only survive from the end of May until the second week in September. I mean, if they shut down, I mean, their dreams, their businesses, their homes, everything is gone.
Yeah.
In one season, it's all gone. You can't get it back. That is a measurable impact, I think, that has to be part of the dialogue. And I hope that it sounds like that Chap Peterson is going to be one of the leaders making sure that analysis is in any decision being made.
Yes, let's hope so, John. I just, like I said, I just want to sort of end where I started, that, I look at the people that have been in the executive branch, people like Brian Moran, Dan Carey, Clark Mercer, and Megan Ryan. I mean, these people have been working 24/7. And again, I cannot say enough good things about their willingness to, in the middle of the night, take ideas and keep everybody updated. And they've done a fabulous job. I just think at some point, both the legislative and executive branches, and the judicial branch, by the way, and I've talked with Chief Justice Lemons about this, we need to start thinking, okay, this has happened. What do we do going forward?
Hopefully you can have those discussions, and we can get people back to work at the end of April or the first week in May. And the governor said, look, if things get better and I have evidence, then I'll be able to take the date of, I think it was June 10th, and I'll be able to move it back. I want to get this topic changed here so we can have a little fun, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's talk about something more interesting.
Let's talk football.
Okay,
because there is going to be a football season. It is going to open September 10th. We are going to have an NFL draft. We're having an NFL draft, although the NFL has been criticized for that. Thank God they have a draft, so we have something to do.
Exactly. There's nothing to talk about. I mean, there's no baseball, there's no hockey. I mean, there's
no basketball. There's nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
So let's have the draft. Good Lord, are we going to listen to Dr. Anthony Fauci for the rest of our lives? Please.
It's so depressing, and the models are so screwed up. They're all. I mean, they said 250,000 dead 5 days ago. Now it's 60,000. I don't know how you can be off by 75% in 5 days. But look, I want to get to football.
Yeah,
we're going to have a draft. Redskins. Top pick, what say you?
I go back and forth. I know, and I've heard some really good arguments for Chase Young, and he's a transformational player, generational player, all that. The only thing is I will say that if someone was to offer me multiple first-round picks for that second pick, I'd trade back, because to me, this team, frankly, they're already decent at defensive end. I mean, they've got Montez Sweat. They could move Allen to defensive end. They still got Kerrigan. If they could get multiple first-round picks so they could find at least 3 starters, I'd do it. If you don't get that offer, I'd take him because he's the best player out there. I would not take Simmons from Clemson. I know he's a fabulous athlete, but when I watch Clemson play, he, to me, was not a dominant player on that team. I know he's a great athlete and he really tests really well, but I just don't think he's as impactful as Chase Young is. So, yeah, that's good. I wish we had a second-round pick because we definitely need more bodies. I wish they, picked up some more studs in free agency, but, at the end of the day, it's going to be kind of a lunch pail team, and I'm fine with that. If they can get 6 or 7 wins and play hard and knock people down, I'm fine with it. I just, just give me some positive movement.
What's going to be the difference in culture with Coach Ron Rivera?
Well, I had dinner with him a couple months ago, and he is a no-nonsense guy. He's a football guy, has no interest in politics, had no idea who I was, had no idea who the governor was, which I love that. He's there to coach football. We talked for an hour and a half, and all we talked about was, frankly, defense and different formations, and he's all about business. I think Jay was, to put it bluntly, Jay was a cerebral guy. He was not a disciplinarian. I felt like he tolerated just too much undiscipline on the team. He kept too many guys on the squad that were not, in my opinion, focused on winning games for the Washington Redskins. Mm-hmm. And I think Rivera, he shipped out Quentin Dunbar. He's probably going to get rid of Trent. If Trent's not going to make a deal, I think you need someone who's just going to look. We went 3-13 with these guys, so none of them is indispensable by definition.
Right.
I can go 3-13 with them. I can go 3-13 without them.
Right, exactly.
And so you might as well get your guys on the field that want to be there and want to play ball. And like I said, let's just try and get to 6 or 7 wins.
You need players in that locker room that want to play football, have fun playing football, and want to win games.
Yeah.
That's really the combo. If you're looking for a blue collar team, those are the things you need. They want to play football, they want to hit, and they want to win some games and no nonsense. And you just haven't had that. Washington hasn't had that
We really haven't had that since probably going back to when you had Gibbs and Sean Taylor and those teams with Gibbs back then. That's going back now for 15 years.
Yeah, it's been the coach has been loose, and the backbiting and the gossiping and all that nonsense that just continue. And then every day, like every season. I mean, I remember in August we were saying, okay, or July, here camp open. Now we have a scandal immediately, and that's all anybody was talking about in the taxis, right? Is that Trent Williams wouldn't play it. He didn't like the doctor. He didn't like this. And it's like every season there's some kind of nonsense going on that's highly distracting. Hopefully the Redskins can get away from that. But I think the best move that any team made, I think, was Washington hiring Coach Rivera. I think he's really going to make a difference there.
Yeah,
big difference.
No, I like him, and like I said, it's every year brings new hope, and so we'll see. Second pick in the draft. If Chase Young turns out to be a Pro Bowler, we could have a really tough defense, and that would be fun.
John Fredericks Radio Network.